visit to 3 ASEAN countries. As you know, on 8th she returned from a very successful visit to Thailand, to Indonesia and to Singapore, where she, of course, she had very successful meetings with the political leadership in all the 3 countries, and bilateral discussions in all the 3 countries. But in the ASEAN context, it was significant because Thailand is going to be the country coordinator for India-ASEAN relations from July this year onwards. Indonesia, as you know, has the ASEAN Secretariat, and there is a new Secretary General whom our External Affairs Minister met. And in fact, apart from the bilateral and the Joint Commission meeting that was held in Indonesia, she also co-inaugurated with the Foreign Minister of Indonesia the 5th round of the ASEAN-India network of think tanks. And Singapore has taken over from January as the new chair of ASEAN. And in Singapore, our External Affairs Minister hosted and participated in the regional Prabasi Bharati Divas that recognized the importance of a very vibrant Indian diaspora in these 10 ASEAN countries, and of course thank them for the contribution that they've made to promoting relations with each of the 10 ASEAN countries, of representing India so well, and also invited them to participate in India's growth and development. In all her interactions that our External Affairs Minister had, a repeated refrain that we picked up was a desire on the part of all the ASEAN countries for a greater presence of India, greater cooperation with India, and a greater integration economically, politically, and in terms of people-to-people contacts. So that turned out to be a curtain raiser to the India-ASEAN Summit. I'll first maybe brief you a little bit about the program of the summit, and then go on to some of the activities that we've planned in the run-up to the summit. As far as the summit itself is concerned, we expect the leaders to start arriving by 24th of January. The summit itself is planned on 25th of January. It will begin with a banquet to be hosted by Honorable Rashtrapati Ji, followed by a leaders' retreat in which our Prime Minister has invited all the 10 ASEAN leaders for an exclusive retreat summit. Thereafter, the leaders will move on to a plenary of the commemorative summit, followed by a gala dinner to be hosted by our Prime Minister. The following day, that is on 26th, all the 10 leaders will be guests of honor for our Republic Day celebrations. And of course, they'll participate in, as is customary, for the dignitaries to also be present at the Rashtrapati Ji's at home, which is to be organized later. This is as far as the summit component is concerned. We have also made special arrangements for the accompanying spouse, and we expect at least 6 of the 10 leaders to be accompanied by the respective spouse, and we have planned a separate event which would, apart from the fact that of course the spouse would be invited for both the Rashtrapati Ji's lunches, banquet lunch, as well as the gala dinner, but they have a separate program organized for them. This is as far as the summit is concerned. Let me just quickly run through some of the other important activities that we are going to plan apart in the run-up to the summit. So the first one takes place tomorrow, in fact, in Rajgir. Rajgir, as you know, is also home to Nalanda University, which was created as a result of an agreement signed during the East Asia Summit, and the focus is of course to recreate the new Nalanda University as a center for learning, much like the ancient Nalanda University was. In addition to that, on 13th to 17th of January, there is an India ASEAN Hackathon and a Startup Festival, which will take place in Hyderabad. Then we have a students exchange program where 250 students from all the 10 ASEAN countries have been invited. It is customary for us as part of our India-ASEAN collaboration to invite around 200 students each year. This year there are 500 students who will be visiting India. 250 will be visiting India in the week 14th to 23rd January. On 22nd to 23rd of January, we have an India-ASEAN Business and Investment Summit that is being undertaken in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce. 24th of January, we have an ASEAN-India Business Council meeting. 24th of January, we also have a Mekong-Ganga Cooperation Business Conclave. 23rd of January, we have an ASEAN-India Textiles event entitled Weaving Textiles Relationship. Again, the same day, at the end, there would be ASEAN-India Youth Awards and Fabric Show. Youth is an important component of our engagement with ASEAN under the 3 C's, which is commerce, connectivity, and culture, where people-to-people contacts has been very important, and we focused on the youth earlier last year when we organized a youth summit in Bhopal, followed by the first ever India-ASEAN Music Festival, where we had bands from all the 10 countries, and an India-ASEAN Artist Retreat. The hackathon is also intended to attract the talent of the youth, and several other activities culminating in this Youth Award are really intended to be focused on youth. Yet another very important focus of our activities in the run-up to the summit is textiles. As you know, all the 10 ASEAN countries, or most of them, are important exporters and producers of garments and apparels, as is India. And we feel that together there is immense potential for us to collaborate and be part of value chains. And in addition to the fact that historically, civilizationally, we have a common connection of the weaves and textiles, and which is why textiles has been given a very important focus. Yet another very important element of our cultural connectivity is Ramayana. We would recall that when our Prime Minister was invited to participate in the ASEAN-India Summit in Manila, that was the time when President Duterte and Philippines were also celebrating 50 years of the establishment of ASEAN. And as part of their own celebrations, the ASEAN countries regard Ramayana as a very important theme that connects all of them, because Ramayana is something that is played and enacted today in most of the ASEAN countries. Seeing that very important cultural connectivity, historical, civilizational, between India and the 10 ASEAN countries, we have invited Ramayana troops from all the 10 ASEAN countries. 1 or 2 might specifically not be Ramayana, but for example in Vietnam there is the Chan culture, which is very similar to the dance forms of India. Similarly in Brunei, the dance mudras are very similar, pick up from the Indian dance moves. So we would have troops from all the 10 ASEAN countries. They will be taken to different cities, quite apart from the fact that from 20th to 24th, they would perform Ramayana at the Kamani Auditorium. So that is yet another important element of our celebrations in the run-up to the summit. We would also have a group of media representatives from all the 10 ASEAN countries, your counterparts, and so I'm sure you will have an opportunity to interact with them. We would certainly use that opportunity to expose them to our celebrations, as well as to be part of the, to watch the summit and our Republic Day celebrations. There's one element I forgot to mention in our in the program of our leaders. When they come for the plenary session, together they will also inaugurate a set of commemorative stamps on India-ASEAN Commemorative Summit, again focused on the theme of Ramayana. The artist retreat I had earlier talked about, which was held in the month of October, the art that was painted by the 10 ASEAN artists and 10 Indian artists would also be on display for our leaders to see themselves. After the summit, we would still have 2 major activities that will be held. One is a film festival that will be held in Goa in the month of February. And again in the month of February, in Assam, the government of Assam, in collaboration with the government of Assam, we would be organizing a major event focused on ASEAN. Why Assam? Because, as you know, Northeast is a very important component. They are the bridge, the land bridge between India and the ASEAN countries, particularly through Myanmar. And so that is the other very important component. What I'll do is I'll stop here and then be happy to take questions. because you might have a specific interest which I'd be happy to respond to. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we go on to the question answer round, let me share with you that in case you need any specific or more information on any of the events mentioned by secretaries, please write to us. I think there are several events taking place in the run-up, and I'm sure the ASEAN division would be happy to share more details about those events with anybody who's interested in. Now the floor is open to questions. Sridhar.
Hi, ma'am. Could we have some details about this leaders retreat that you mentioned, exclusive retreat summit? Could we have some details about this? What will be the venue, and could we have some more details about this?
The leaders' retreat will be held in Rashtrapati Bhavan soon after the luncheon banquet, where it will be just exclusive. Our Prime Minister with the 10 leaders who will hold a closed door, very free and frank discussions on the future of India-ASEAN relations under the theme Shared Values, Common Destiny, which is the theme of the summit.
तो विदेश मंत्रालय की पत्रकार वार्ता को आप देख रहे थे। खासकर जो बातें बताई गई उसमें ये कहा गया कि विदेश मंत्री की जो